Hey, this is Sasha Evdokov, and welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Stocks, episode number 142. Now, in this week's episode, what I'd like to do is share with you 10 things that you can check or 10 habits that you may want to have in the morning if you're an active investor or active in the stock market. Now, we're going to break this up into two sections. One section, I'm going to share with you 5 items and things to look at as far as the outer game is concerned. And then the other section is more the inner game things. So if you don't know and understand what the difference between the outer game and the inner game is, the outer game is all about things that are external to you, right? Internal are things that are internal, like psychology, mentality, emotions. External to you are more things like technical analysis. They're more about strategies and more of what you're doing to choose a trade. So if you look at it like a game of basketball, the outer game would be more about shooting, dribbling, passing, teamwork, that kind of thing. The inner game is more about if you miss a shot, do you get upset? If you hit, a couple of three-pointers, do you get really emotionally riled up and maybe get a little bit cocky? So all those things cater together between the inner game and the outer game. When you have both, that's when you have trading. If you only have the outer game, then you only have one piece of the puzzle, right? If you were a great basketball shooter, but you just got really upset anytime you missed a shot, well, you don't have the inner game, so probably you didn't make an overall great basketball player. So you need both, and the same thing in trading. You need both. You need the outer game and you need the inner game, and you need both to make things work. So I'm going to share with you 5 from each in order to give you some insight. Now keep in mind, this is just to give you some insights. It's just to give you some ideas, and you can go ahead and restructure your morning routine, morning ritual, however you want. It is totally up to you. But this is just to get you going, to start thinking about those routines, to be a little more systematic. Because when you're a little more systematic and you have a little more routine or thinking of things even deeper, let's call it a ritual. When you have a ritual, in that case, now you know how things are set up. Like, this is the way things are going to work. Then this is the next step. This is the next step. And it's all systematic. Just like, screwing toothpaste caps on the ends. When you have a machine doing this, it's all a system and it's all a process, and you're going to get consistent results. And the same thing here. When you're getting into the groove and revving up your engine, starting your car, just like you would starting your body, getting things going in the morning, when you have that same process over and over again, to tweak things in between, of course, and make adjustments. But when you have that same consistency, well, then you're starting off in the right direction and the right foot. So let me share with you some of these ideas, and then you can go ahead and concoction or create your own as you go ahead and tweak and modify them. All right, so starting from the outer game, I went ahead and wrote these out for you so that way you go ahead and save a little bit of time. The first thing that you may want to do is, let's just break things apart. Of course, these could be in any order. You may want to go ahead and check the futures, such as the S&P futures. And this will allow you to see, okay, well, is the market moving in the right direction? Is it moving to the upside or the downside? And this is going to be based on where you are positioned, right? Because you're looking at things and you're seeing, okay, well, how am I positioned for the situation that's coming up, right? So if the futures are up 20 points on the S&P futures, but you're positioned mostly short, well, you're probably going to have a little bit of trouble, right? If the futures are pointing to the upside, but you're short. So you have to account for these things. So now you're looking at the futures and then you see, okay, if things are actually moving for me, or let's say against me, well, let's double check my plan. What was my plan initially? What is it going to be now? So step 2 might be checking your plan. And you see, okay, well, what would you do if the futures, or if things open up at plus 10, plus 20, plus, or if things continue to move forward, plus 30? Are you going to need to do any adjustments? Are you going to need to do any fixing or hedging? What are you going to need to do? So that's where we get into part 3, adjustments. What would be your adjustments? What would you do, and what variations of those adjustments can you do when things go against you? So that's kind of the main thing that you really want to figure out is, what can you do if things are going to go against you? Now, once you figure this out, you'll have a few different variations probably, because you'll have some hedgings. Maybe if you're comfortable with options, you may have some option hedgings. Otherwise, you might go into other securities. You could also go ahead and check your plan. Hey, if the futures are up or down, did I take a quarter off? Did I take a half off? So you'll also see those things if you're only trading stocks, where you are relative to your plan and adjustment. So those first few things are going to tell you a lot about how that day is going to move within the market for you. Okay, so this will just give you that setup work. Now, the next thing you may want to do is take a look at scanning the charts, right? Again, if you want to look at scanning the charts, you want to scan more variations, you want to scan potential gainers in pre-market, potential losers in pre-market. Again, you could go ahead and start scanning the charts. That could be the next thing that you do. And after you get your list of, let's say, 10, 20 stocks, you'll fine-tune it. Maybe you'll fine-tune it into 3 or 5 stocks to watch, and you may only get into one of them. Okay, so in either case, you're scanning the charts to see the potentials, to see what you're looking for. And it could be the same 50 stocks that you normally scan, but you only have maybe 3 to 5 on a sticky note that you actually actively trade. But in either case, that's what you're doing here on the next step. And then the fifth thing that you may want to double check is, let's just take a look at reviewing my notebook, reviewing the trading journal. How am I going to get into these positions? What would be my trading plan? And that could be kind of a bonus. Do you want to go ahead and create a trading plan along with any of those potential scans or charts that you're reviewing? So that could be the next step in the process. So all of these things are really the outer game part to trading. These are all kind of outer game related. You're checking futures, you're checking the plan. Where do you want to make the adjustments? What are the variations to those adjustments? Do you want to scan the charts if you want to see some other charts or opportunities? Or go back and review the charts for your stocks and make sure that the plan is fitting those charts and everything is still in alignment. And then go back and review the notebook or your trading journal, meaning when did you get into the trade, or if you have any new trades that are potentials or possibilities, then go ahead and write those down and maybe where you'd like to get into them. Again, all of this is just setup work for that outer game. Now, the next piece of this is actually the inner game. And normally I would say the inner game should come before the outer game. But many people focus on the outer game first. But it's all about getting you personally ready to be able to do this, the outer game, next. So focus on the inner game actually first. So what does the inner game involve? Well, when it comes to the inner game, here are some of the things that I look at and focus on. Now, these are, of course, you could rearrange them based on your needs, but a couple of quick notes here. We're looking at water and food and teeth. Again, this is all physical related, so we're looking at physical based here. So that's what we're covering in part 1. And then, of course, the workout, quick 10-minute workout, is also physical. Okay, so this also notes a little bit of physical. Then we get into a mental block, okay, which we'll talk about in a second. And then we get into something emotional and then also spiritual. So we kind of cover a handful of different things, from physical, from what the body needs, to mental, what the brain needs, emotional, again, something that we need emotionally and spiritually. So all these things kind of hit a certain point. Just like over here, when you're doing the outer game, it kind of, when you're looking at things, you're looking at the future, what's going to happen or what's projected to happen and how the market's behaving. Then you want to check your plan, right, to see where you're at with your positions, and then any adjustments that you may want to do, which you could already have in your plan, but maybe you'll want to tweak those or do a little variation of those, and then getting back into scanning charts and reviewing the notebook. So you're trying to hit things from the past, you're trying to hit things on what else you could do in the future, and your setup. So here, the same thing. You're trying to hit a couple of different levels and points. The physical aspect. So the first part, when you first get up, you may want to go ahead and drink some water. I mean, after all, you've slept for, between 6 hours and maybe 10 hours. So it's like going through a desert, 10 hours without water, food, and so forth. So you may want to, hydrate yourself, get some water. You might want to get some food, You'll probably want to brush your teeth. It could be taking a shower. All these things are physical based. There could be some other things you may want to do. The next thing you may want to do is like a quick 10-minute workout. If you want to do it longer, by all means, 20-minute, 30-minute. You could also incorporate some stretching in there where you go ahead and do what you need to do. It could be yoga, it could be just health and fitness, cardio real quick, whatever you want to do. But again, all physical based for the body, what your body needs, and what you personally need on a physical level. Okay? The next thing what you'll want to do is hit something that's mental. Just like exercising your body here, stretching your body, working your muscles, working your heart, working your organs, giving it the food it needs, giving it the water it needs. Your brain needs to do the same thing. Your brain is constantly working. And in the stock market, we use our brain quite a bit. So to be able to handle all these different things, along with many things in between here, because you have little sub-steps that are going to happen in between, you need to make sure that your brain is also operating at a very high performance. So I'd always recommend you read something knowledgeable. Focus on that mind and the brain, right? Whether it doesn't have to be a stock market book, right? It doesn't have to be stock related, option related. It could be something entrepreneurial. It could be something to learn how to get more insight about how to maybe do something better physical. But again, your brain is working on these things. How to do something better physical, how much water you need, how to exercise your spine better in the morning. It could be something completely different, like nutrition, about the food, right? But something where your brain has to think a little bit. It could be reading, but it could be a game. You could play chess, right? Play checkers, whatever you want. Get your brain to start moving and activating it. So for some people, for some traders, they like to play a game of chess before they start trading. Again, totally up to you, whatever you like to do, but get your brain working. Then the next thing you want to do is do something emotional. Now, I gave an example here as playing with kids. For many people, they have kids. They want to do something emotional. Playing with your kids is a great way. It creates a win-win relationship between you and your children where you're able to play with your kids and it gives you that emotional connection, like a people connection, personal connection. So you want to hit those emotional trigger points as well for you. So that way, those emotions are kind of calm when you're trading. Otherwise, if you're kind of feeling a little sad, a little lonely, a little upset, those kinds of things, you want to take care of that. If you had a fight last night with a significant other, maybe that they don't even live with you and you can't work things out, it might be wise to give a phone call and just leave a message. Because when you leave a message, at least it's out of your hands and now it's not in your control. But if you don't leave a message and you had a fight, you're probably going to be worried about that during the trading day. You might be thinking about it, what you could say, what you should say, what you shouldn't say, maybe what you could have done different. But again, that's emotional things, right? So you're always in a different situation with your emotions. If things are good, by all means, you could just read jokes and emotionally feel fine as well. But find something for you, whether it's playing with your kids for 5-10 minutes, watching a few old home videos, calling up a friend, those kinds of things. Or if you need to do this at night or in the daytime, maybe in the afternoon to have lunch with someone, again, those are all helpful things and you can switch these things around. But just to get things going as an inner game, if it's a morning routine, having something in there as an emotional balance is great. If you can't get it in, just by lack of not being creative enough or not being able to do it, then find some other time throughout the day to balance that out. Because what you don't want to do is have any one of these areas be totally fit or totally overworked, which I'll talk about here in a second. And the last thing you want to do is do something spiritual or work on your spirit. And you could do this through meditation, it could be through church, it could be through whatever means you feel good about. I could be just laying on the floor and just relaxing and just clearing things out. So again, a balance of spiritual, emotional, mental, and physical will really round you out as far as the inner game goes. Now, here's what I mean as far as not being able to compensate for one over the other and not doing one thing too much. So if you've probably heard the phrases that moderation is key, do things in moderation, well, this is the same thing. But with our human body, our emotions, our inner game, we recharge a little differently. So we need to actually do things that are opposite of these things in order to recharge. So take, for example, fitness and working out. If I was to work out, let's say if I was a personal trainer for 10 hours a day, that was my job. In order for me to recharge my body or recharge my spirit and my mind and everything, in order for me to just recharge everything, I can't just work out for another 3 hours and recharge. I typically will need something more spiritual, emotional, or mental. That's why a lot of times when you're done working out, you don't want to work out more once you're done working out because you just worked out. You want to do something different. It could be mental. For some people, mental means watch a movie, watch a video, listen to music. It could be emotional. Again, music could be part of that. It could be something spiritual, wherever you fit in, but it needs to be something mental, emotional, spiritual to recharge the physical aspect, right? It needs to be opposite of physical or something different beyond physical. If you did a lot of reading, if you're writing a book, if you're doing a lot of reading, a lot of mental work, playing chess a lot, in order to recharge, you need to do something different. So again, if you're doing a lot of business creativity, if you're working on a business, how to get more sales, how to get more leads, you probably want to get away from work. And what you need to do is do something emotional. Watch an emotional movie. It might be spiritual, meditate, relax. Or it could be physical. That's why a lot of entrepreneurs, they actually go work out because they do something opposite beyond the mental. They do something physical. So this helps balance that out. So again, same thing with the emotional, the spiritual. You need to do something that's opposite of these things. So if you're doing a lot of meditation throughout the day, you need something else in order to counterbalance that. So this is what you want to create kind of in your morning routine or morning checklist. So these are the 5 things for the inner game. Start with this: water, food, teeth, shower, whatever you need, nutrition, call it vitamins, whatever you need. Get the physical aspect out of the way, do a quick little workout. Again, that's kind of the physical part. Then you may want to go into the mental part. Could be reading, could be chess, some kind of mental thing, emotional thing, and then the spiritual thing. So now you have all these components working together to create that inner game. Then, when you're done with this, then what you want to do is go more to the outer game, okay? And this outer game right here, this is all stock market based. So now you go ahead. Once you're done with this, what you need to do, then you get into the stock market game. Now, for some people in between here, they may have a job that they need to go to and start their job, start their career. It could be something else, But in either case, here you might have some things in between, but then you get into the inner game. Check your futures if that's what you want to start with. You can check your plan, make sure your plan is on track and on target. Take a look at the adjustments, okay? If the plan's on track and, okay, you know what the plan is, then look at the adjustments that you would do if you needed to, whether you need to add to the position, reduce the position, whatever it is. Look at those adjustments, look at the variations. Check if your position is safe. Then what you might want to do is let's look at, if everything looks good with the positions, let's look at potential setups. It could be scanning the charts, it could be scanning potential setups that you may want to get into. And then finally, reviewing that notebook and trading journal to making sure everything else is going well and just reevaluating your own personal self, your style, your strategy, whatever it is that you want to do. So these are 5 outer game things that you may want to focus on. Now, for other people, it could be completely different. It could be, instead of checking your adjustments or scanning the charts, it could be scanning the news, scanning, let's just say, bulletin boards. If you're a penny stock trader or a day trader, you could see which stocks are really active or which stocks are moving, which stocks have bad news, and you may want to look to short them. So again, you could substitute these things. It's just to give you an idea. So start with the inner game, get that built out. Once you have the inner game, then move to the outer game. And of course, you can tweak both of these. This is just to get you started. You'll probably tweak and modify these. Eventually, what you'll want to do is break this down, saying at, 7 o'clock in the morning, you wake up, you get your water. 7:10, you do this. 7:15, you do that. Then you might want to even break down your workout. Like, this is what you do for your workout on Mondays. this is your workout on Tuesdays, this is your workout on Wednesdays. Same thing. For reading or mental things, maybe on Monday you do something reading, on Tuesday you do chess, on Wednesday, you play something else or play a different game that works your mind or brain, you work on your business, whatever it is, mental, and so on and so forth. So you could get very specific into this plan, into all these different things, and then going ahead and moving to the outer game. Again, you can get even more specific and in more detail of all these different things. And this part, the drawing it all out systematically, making a plan, will just help you stay on track and on target. And you just go step by step and just check mark every one. If you're struggling to have that routine or a ritual, then do it that way. And once you have it down, you're going to know it. You're not going to need to write it down anymore. So for me, I don't really write it down. I kind of have my routine in place or my ritual, and I do the same thing. Now, sometimes, depending on the day, I'll go ahead and get rid of some of these simply because I don't need it. I already know what the plan is. Sometimes the futures are not important because I know my positions are totally safe. I'll still maybe double check a few things, but in general, maybe I'll skip this to, going a little bit later or maybe midday. I'm just checking the positions midday, and then I'll check the adjustments. It might be it might be after the morning, not before the morning even goes or before the market opens. So it could be later. Same thing with scanning charts. It could be after the market close rather than during the market or even before the market. So again, really just depends where you're at with your trading personally, but hopefully this just gives you some insight to getting started, what you want to incorporate in that inner game and that outer game, because when you have that inner game and that outer game, that's really where that success really lies, is right there in the middle between that inner game and outer game, and you need it to work both together. All right, so thanks for joining me in this week's lesson. Go ahead, take a moment to proactively create your morning routine, or if you want to think about it deeper, morning ritual. Rather than just reacting to things as they come, then you'll just react, hey, this is happening, so I'll go ahead and react and do it. Be proactive, create what it is that you want to work on, whether it's your inner game and your outer game, and what is it that you want to get out of it. These are not the only 10 things that you need to work on. So create the system, create the routine, the ritual that you want to have, that you want to check over. And you can start with a basic checklist for you. And later you'll go ahead and it'll become so systematic to the point where you can modify it and tweak it, because now you're in the right focused mindset. You're in the right physical state. And as you feel like one is dropping off, maybe you don't feel as good physically, maybe you're a little more lethargic, or maybe mentally your brain isn't working as well, then you'll go ahead and you need to pick up that slack, and you'll start noticing those things. But start off on the right foot, building a routine or ritual that really works for you, rather than just waiting for things to come in and impact you from all over the place. All right, so thanks again for joining me. If you want to join me on a live class session, or you want to get some of the free goodies and books sometimes that I go ahead and give out to my newsletter members, click this button right here. Go ahead, click that button. When you click it, enter your name and email address, and you'll be added to the newsletter. That's where I send out the news alerts as we release new episodes, along with some of those live webinar sessions that you can go ahead and ask me questions, and I'll give you the answers. So be sure to sign up by clicking this button. In the end, remember to do what you love, contribute to other people, but most importantly, live life abundantly. I'll see you in the next lesson.